Have you ever wondered why, no matter how hard you try, you keep falling into the same emotional traps? The same kinds of relationships? The same anxieties? It's like some invisible thread keeps tugging you back into patterns you thought you'd outgrown. What if I told you that many of these persistent emotional struggles don't come from your present circumstances, your job, or even your adult relationships, but from something far older, something that began long before you had words to describe your world? According to Carl Jung, the patterns you're caught in may not even be fully yours. They may be the echoes of your very first emotional blueprint, the one written in your early relationship with your mother. Not just the woman herself, but the mother archetype, a powerful, unconscious force that shapes how you understand love, safety, identity, and even your place in the world. This video is not about blame. It's about clarity, compassion, and reclamation. Because when you begin to see these unconscious patterns clearly, you don't just break free from them. You begin to write your life from a place of power rather than pain. From the moment we're born, our mother or primary caregiver becomes the first mirror we look into. She reflects back to us what love looks like, what it feels like to be safe, and what it means to exist in a relational world. But Jung reminds us that this mother is not only a real person, she is also an archetype, a universal psychological image encoded deep within the collective unconscious. The mother archetype isn't about your mother's personality. It's about the emotional structure she represents in your psyche. Whether she was nurturing or distant, generous or demanding, her emotional availability or lack thereof imprinted your inner map of how to love and be loved. This is why the same kinds of partners may keep showing up in your life, or why you may seek approval, avoid conflict, or feel unworthy without fully understanding why. It's not always memory that drives you. Sometimes it's the unconscious emotional blueprint you received before you could even form a coherent thought. Even if your early memories are blurry or seemingly benign, your body and psyche remember. They remember how it felt to be soothed or ignored, held or left alone, encouraged or dismissed. These early relational patterns don't just disappear. Instead, they mature into emotional scripts, repeating in your adult life as if you're unknowingly acting out a role that was written long ago. You might find yourself chasing approval, fearing abandonment, or struggling to assert your needs, not because you're weak or broken, but because your nervous system learned these strategies as a way to survive emotional uncertainty. Jung called this process projection, the unconscious transfer of internalized emotional patterns onto others. Without realizing it, we assign the emotional role of the mother to partners, bosses, friends, hoping they'll finally give us what we once needed but never received. Let's be clear, this isn't just about trauma in the traditional sense. Even in normal households, children can grow up with unmet needs. Maybe love was given, but only when you performed well. Maybe you were praised for being quiet rather than honest. Maybe affection was conditional, or achievement was mistaken for worth. When children sense that love is earned through obedience, perfection, or emotional restraint, they internalize a devastating belief. I must work to be loved. This belief becomes a silent contract that follows them into adulthood. The result? A lifetime of chasing success, approval, or ideal relationships in an effort to finally feel enough. But no job title, no romantic partner, no amount of social validation can fill the void left by these unmet childhood needs. Why? Because the emptiness isn't external. It's the echo of a child still waiting to feel safe, seen, and unconditionally loved. So how do we heal from this? Carl Jung believed that the answer lies in a process called individuation. This isn't about cutting ties with your mother or blaming your upbringing. It's about peeling back the layers of conditioned roles and discovering the authentic self underneath. Ask yourself, who am I when I stop performing? When I'm not trying to earn love or avoid rejection? Individuation invites you to see your mother not as an idealized figure or a villain, but as a human being complex, wounded, shaped by her own story. This reframing replaces blame with compassion, not only for her, but for yourself. A key part of this healing is recognizing where you've projected the mother's role onto others. Are you looking to your partner for approval your mother never gave? Are you trying to win over emotionally unavailable people as a way to rewrite the past? By identifying these projections, you can begin to reclaim responsibility for your emotional life. And this is where a powerful concept comes in: self-mothering. This means offering yourself the kindness, structure, and safety you once looked for externally. You become the source of your own healing instead of waiting for someone else to complete the story. Awareness is the first step, but it's not the last. Real transformation comes from practice. Start by noticing your emotional triggers. When you feel dismissed, rejected, or unworthy, pause. Ask yourself, is this pain coming from the present, or from a wound I've carried since childhood? Use journaling to explore your emotional landscape. Let your feelings speak. Don't silence them the way they may have been silenced in your upbringing. Practice solitude, not loneliness, but genuine inner listening. Who are you when no one is watching? And perhaps most importantly, cultivate self-compassion. Not the vague idea of being kind to yourself, but the concrete practice of showing up for yourself with love and patience, especially when you fall short. Speak to yourself the way you once longed for someone to speak to you. These small but powerful acts rewire your emotional blueprint. They build a new narrative, one grounded in inner safety, not external approval. Eventually, a quiet but profound shift begins to happen. You realize that while your mother wrote the first chapter of your emotional story, she doesn't get to write the rest. You begin to carry her influence consciously, not blindly. She becomes a part of your emotional landscape, not a haunting shadow, but a grounded, human presence. You learn to carry the lessons, not the weight. And in doing so, you interrupt the cycle of inherited pain. You stop passing it down. You create space for something new: authenticity, presence, peace. You don't reject your past, you integrate it. You choose what to keep, and you lovingly release what no longer serves. This is emotional freedom. Not the absence of wounds, but the presence of conscious choice. So here's the question I leave you with. What parts of your emotional story are you ready to reclaim? What patterns are you ready to release? If this video resonated with you, take a moment to reflect in the comments. Your story might be the lifeline someone else needs. And if you want to keep diving into content that helps you understand yourself, heal deeply, and grow authentically, be sure to subscribe to this channel. We're building a community rooted in truth, compassion, and emotional liberation. Because the journey doesn't end here. In fact, this is just the beginning.